Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube slash Spotify. So, I'm Nathan Bevan, and I'm here with Dylan. Do you want to
Hello,
introduce?
everyone.
Yeah, there we go. So, we're going to talk today about like signs and symptoms of low testosterone, our personal experiences with it, our client experiences, and I want you to stay towards the end of the video because what we're going to do is we're going to give you some simple tips to help with low testosterone. We're going to give you the causes of low testosterone and how to potentially deal with each individual cause. And to deal with each individual cause, we're going to go through like lifestyle factors you can help that can help, supplementation, foods that can help, and also like training tips as well that can help with that. So we're going to start kicking off by a couple of statistics. So a statistic that I've seen that's pretty alarming in a way is that since the millennium, so since the year 2000, the average young adult male, their testosterone level has plummeted by around about 27%. So before 2000, a young adult male had around about 605 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone, which is a relatively okay amount of testosterone. We want to kind of push up towards that 800 nanogram marker, but 600 is not bad. But today, an average 22-year-old man has around about 450 nanograms per deciliter, which is going more towards the lower end. And that is low testosterone, in my opinion. And the average 22-year-old man today has the average testosterone level roughly of a 67-year-old male in the year 2000, which is absolutely wild. So that just shows much how much of a decline testosterone levels have gone over the past like 20 odd years. And we'll kind of explain maybe a little bit of the reasons why we think this is throughout this podcast as well.
Yeah, and just before we get into that, testosterone levels, obviously, as Nathan just described, they have decreased massively since years and years ago, which are to do with the reasons that we'll probably touch on in a minute. But also, testosterone levels in men typically decline 1% every year after the age of 30, which can be quoted as the menopause. And that's something that happens naturally. As we get older, testosterone levels start to decrease, and we can look at ways how we can still optimize our testosterone levels to make sure that they're as high as possible as we get to those ages when we do start to get older.
And I'll just chuck in there that if you are over the age of 30 and you are listening to this, if you apply the techniques and tips and foods and training tips and supplementation and lifestyle factors to yourself today, you can increase your testosterone. Don't think it's an actual decline and you're on a journey downwards from now, because you're not. As long as you look after yourself, that's the most important point.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next point where we've got our experiences. So what we kind of our experiences and what we've kind of gone through and what we see today. So I see a lot of younger males who don't even know whether they have low testosterone because they've never had a blood test and actually found out. So if you do want to actually find out whether you've got low testosterone, get a good comprehensive blood panel. Shout out to Atlas Labs. You can go to Atlas Labs and get one of these. They're UK based. But young lads just literally jumping on testosterone in order to solve this issue as like a quick fix without knowing the risk to reward ratio when it comes to testosterone. And that's for another video, yeah? But in my opinion, you want to stay natural as long as possible until you can make up your own decision and you know the more risk to reward, because you obviously mature as you get more into your late 20s, and then you can kind of make more of a ethical decision on whether you want to kind of go down the road of taking testosterone and being more assisted. And my own personal experience with this is when I was like 20-year-old, 19-year-old, a lot of lads was doing this, and I did it as well for about a month. Yeah, and I put on, I don't even know how much weight I put on. It was about 14 pounds, right? I can't even remember. It's something like in a month, 4 weeks, £14. Everyone's like, Bosh, get in, yeah. But honestly, like as soon as I came off, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Very stupid. As soon as I came off, it all went. And then I had low testosterone, obviously, because when you inject exogenous testosterone into your body, then it shuts off your own natural production. So then when you come off, your testosterone could take up to, depending on how long you've been on, but up to 6 months to a year to actually kind of get back to levels that where it should have been at. Because I was a younger male, it probably, and I weren't on it for longer than a month, it probably went up quite quick. Yeah. However, my advice to all young males who are listening to this is stay well away from testosterone unless you're fully set on your decision and you maybe want to become a pro bodybuilder, or you have a goal that requires going on testosterone. If it's just to get in shape for a holiday, I'd highly, highly, highly advise against it, and I'd do it the natural way because you can have a real good amount of success doing it naturally. And just to let you all know, I am now assisted because I compete as a bodybuilder. So I went assisted probably around about 3 years ago now, and I got guided properly. Shout going out to Physique Collective, Joe Jeffrey, who showed me the ropes. And literally, if you want any further information on PED use, definitely go and check them people out. They are absolutely amazing at what they do of doing it in a safer way. It's not safe, but a safer way. So that's a bit about my experience and what I've been through and now what I do and what my advice. Still,
Yeah, so I'll chuck in my experience, mate. This is something that I've gone through when it comes to testosterone, but also we've both seen with clients in the past because me and Nathan both coaches for the same company, coach people into photo shoots or bodybuilding competitions, and as your body fat levels get so low, you actually start to decrease in certain areas of your hormones. So testosterone levels plummet, and that's natural. So like when I did my photo shoot, I think it was about a year and a half ago, I come out the back of it, got a blood test done, and I think I had the testosterone level of a small child. And
what was your test still? Then
I
can you
think
remember?
it was 8 or 7,
Yeah, 8 nmol.
8 10 mole, yeah.
Yeah, so just to let everybody know, Dill's was 8 nmol, and ideally to be higher testosterone, you need to be 24 to 30 nmol. So Dylan was at 8. So as you could see, it was probably, well, a third of what he needed to be as to be a minimum of 24. So just to let
Yeah, and it
everybody know.
felt like a third of what I needed to be as well. But then coming out of the back of that, it was making sure that the right things were put in place to increase that testosterone naturally with the right supplementation, the right lifestyle, and not just like Nathan just mentioned, jumping straight on gear like most young lads probably do because they think it's the quick fix that's needed. If you can do things the natural way, especially at a young age, it's going to play tenfold in the future.
Yeah, especially if your priorities aren't right and if you've not got the fundamentals in place. Like if you don't eat well and you don't sleep well and you don't aim to lower your stress as much as possible, and if you go out at weekends and drink alcohol and eat loads of processed foods, honestly, stay well away because you are
Yeah,
going to shorten your lifespan by quite a lot doing stupid things when you're young. So wait until you're a bit more level headed in 3, 4, 5 years' time, and then even think about it again. I'm not saying go on it then, I'm saying have another think about it then. And that's
yeah.
my advice.
And off the back of that, what would be the symptoms of low testosterone for someone, Nathan?
So probably the main ones are like sleep issues or insomnia, where you either can't sleep and you wake up all the time, or you actually sleep but you feel like you've not slept when you've woke up. So that is just because when we've got low testosterone, it'll mean that we more than likely have higher cortisol, and higher cortisol will inhibit the production of melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, and that'll play havoc with our sleep. Plus, testosterone naturally helps our circadian rhythm And we'll not go into circadian rhythm, but it's our sleep-wake cycle. So testosterone is a natural driver of this. And if that's shot at, then we're not going to be able to sleep as efficiently. And then that kind of leads into the next points, if I'm completely honest. So, like poor recovery from training would be another, and then poor ability to build muscle and depression or anxiety. They're probably the next three, and they all stem from sleep issues. Then, so it kind of is the main one is sleep issues, and this will be, and obviously like low sex drive as well will be heightened from low testosterone and potentially higher prolactin. And we'll go into prolactin a little bit later and see what that is and what it does. But the other three stem from that issue, in my opinion. So I'd say the main one is like is sleep issues, which causes poor recovery, causes poor ability to build muscle, causes depression, anxiety, and obviously you'll have low sex drive from having low testosterone. So have you had any past clients with low testosterone, Dill?
Well, I was just going to mention that one of the main symptoms of low testosterone that I experienced when I done that diet that I mentioned was the not being able to recover after training sessions. So, like, if I'd done a leg session, I'd feel a lot more DOMS the day after that I'd eat into the day after that. And then that would obviously potentially affect my sleep. But I think it was to do with my sleep not being the best, like you mentioned at the start, which then started to eat away into my training sessions later on in the week. So that's probably the main one that I've witnessed myself, and also clients who dieted a lot in the past. But also you see that in people who haven't dieted. And then I feel like that's what's the issue then. If you're having these symptoms and say you're taking 4 out of 5 symptoms of low testosterone and you're not in an extreme diet, that's when you should be asking questions on how can I improve this testosterone naturally, because that's what you need as a male.
Yeah, and it's one of them though as well. Like when you're dieting, you're going to experience DOMS, aren't you? You're going to experience fatigue. You're going to experience like maybe some form of sleep issue when you get really lean, because of higher cortisol, potentially lower testosterone if you're a natural person. So you will experience this if you do some form of extreme diet. And we're not saying that there's ways that you can help, but inevitably, if you do some extreme diet into a photo shoot, it will catch up with you, and it will come eventually. So again, just for everybody's kind of information. So obviously, I've coached a lot of different clients with low testosterone, which has been driven by different causes. So we're just going to go through like the causes of low testosterone now. So like some of the mechanisms behind low test would include, so what the first one is like low pituitary output or low adrenal output. So if we have our pituitary gland is the master regulator of our hormones, it sends a signal to the to each different area to kind of produce the hormone, should we say, in layman's terms. So if we have low pituitary output, sorry, we'd have low DHEA and therefore low conversion into testosterone, because DHEA eventually converts down to testosterone through a chain of conversion. Yeah. And the next one could be like chronic inflammation or infection. So if somebody's got chronic inflammation or some form of infection, then they can potentially have some form of bacterial overgrowth within the gut, and then this can kind of play havoc with potentially causing nutrient deficiencies, which is another problem. And the reason being is that some bacterial overgrowth will cause lack of absorption or malabsorption within the gut, can potentially cause leaky gut. Leaky gut causes malabsorption, and if we get malabsorption and therefore nutrient deficiencies, we need nutrients and micronutrients in order to help produce testosterone. Yeah, so we need the likes of zinc, B vitamins, vitamin D, magnesium in order to help create testosterone. So if we're not absorbing and eating and consuming and absorbing these different minerals and vitamins, i.e. micronutrients, we're going to be nutrient deficient and we're going to end up potentially with low testosterone. So another one is like chronic undereating. So if somebody is undereating, i.e. in a prolonged diet, doing a dieting phase, and they end up with like low adrenal or low pituitary output, which I've just mentioned, then this will cause low testosterone. So we need to ensure like an adequate amount of cholesterol because cholesterol is the backbone of all our sex steroid hormones. So we need to look at our fat intake because fat is synthesized, converted, made into, however you want to say it, cholesterol. And then cholesterol's literally, like I just said, the backbone of all our sex steroid hormones, which includes testosterone, estrogen, pregnenolone, DHEA, the lot. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we've got adequate fat intake, and you we'll go into that a bit later. Um, do you want to mention another couple, Dill? I think there's another couple that I can't think of off the top of my head.
In terms of client experiences.
Just in terms of causes of low test, I think.
Um, Off the top of my head, I can't think of many more besides like high amounts of stress. But I think you mentioned that with cortisol being quite high, like
Oh,
stress coming from not
you've
training,
just
etc.
actually, yeah, you've just sprung one in my head. So another one is insulin resistance. Yeah. So somebody who's got insulin resistance and overweight or obese, they'll not. So insulin resistance is basically where you can't shuttle glucose into a cell. Yeah. The top and bottom of it. Glucose is the most broken down form of a carbohydrate. So when we eat carbohydrates, it breaks down into some form of glucose. There's different forms. There's glucose, galactose, fructose. There's a lot of them, and we can't shuttle these into cells. So it makes our blood glucose go up and causes inflammation and disruption within the body. And if we have insulin resistance, we're potentially going to gain more body fat. If we gain more body fat then produces something called aromatase. And aromatase will convert testosterone into estrogen. So then we end up with an imbalance of testosterone to estrogen in favor of estrogen because you're insulin resistant or overweight or obese. So basically, how we'd help that is lose weight, more exercise, more walking, and also potentially use some form of like maybe glucose disposal agent, which could be like some form of berberine before higher carbohydrate meals, etc. And then the last one that I can think of is higher prolactin. So as I mentioned, prolactin is has an inverse relationship with testosterone. So what this basically means is when prolactin's high, testosterone can will be low. So, and prolactin is a hormone that is produced by the pituitary gland and is responsible for like milk production and breast development. So, obviously, during pregnancy in females, it'll be high. Obviously, I understand that maybe the majority of these people listening to this are males. So, what this can do is potentially, if we have high prolactin and we're a male, we potentially may have higher amounts of estrogen. So, normally, somebody who has insulin resistance potentially has high prolactin as well. Yeah. So what can else can cause hyperlactin is like a yeast overgrowth or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which again links to the gut. And these all link because normally somebody with insulin resistance, I'm not saying all the time, but because they've had years potentially of eating processed food and drinking alcohol potentially, then they're gonna cause some damage to the gut, and they're gonna potentially have had a buildup of yeast or bacteria within the gut, which then heightens prolactin, lowers testosterone, heightens estrogen. So how we could help with this is potentially trying to obviously fix the root cause, which would be the yeast or bacterial overgrowth, but also using different supplementation to help with prolactin. So I'm not saying use these. Yeah, I'm saying this is what you could use if you have prolactin. So if you have high prolactin, so just as a disclaimer, don't go and take these supplements now and go and buy them because you think you have low test. Please get a blood test first and get somebody to read your blood test who knows what they're on about. Yeah, because just buying these supplements, you may be wasting your money. Yeah, so we could use calcium D-gluconate or L-tyrosine or even P5P that all help lower prolactin in their own individual ways. So them are kind of the causes of low testosterone that I can think of and how to kind of maybe help, should we say. So our other ways that we can help, Dill, let's give the listeners some takeaway points that they can use today slash tomorrow that'll help them. So like if we kind of section this off into like lifestyle, foods, and then supplementation being last, then what are like lifestyle things that people can take away that they can just literally apply today if they have to?
Yeah, so first things first is, like we mentioned, if stress levels are too high, this is going to be a massive impact on testosterone. So what we can do is try and lower stress in ways that stress comes from family, social circle, relationships, work, your own mental health, whatever you've got going on at the minute. Stress comes from so many different areas, and it can come from you being in a calorie deficit as well, and you could be training too much. So look at everything as a whole, make sure that you've got everything written down if you can do, and see where are the most stresses coming from in my life, and try and make sure that you can lower them as much as possible. And then, like I said, training's a massive impact on our stress levels and our recovery. Trying to lower training volume if we can do across the week, so that we can try and recover a little bit better, because if our testosterone levels are lower, we're not going to be able to recover optimally, and we don't want to just eat away constantly at causing more stress and causing our body not being able to recover even more. We're just kind of pushing that needle further and further back, when we could just recover more if we just pulled our training volume out. And then, yeah, that same sort of thing is just with training, trying to not push to absolute failure on those sets where you've lowered your training volume, kind of giving yourself a bit of a break, just de-stressing as much as possible, probably some of the main lifestyle ones. And then foods, like Nathan mentioned, is just trying to have more high fats from good quality foods. Like you mentioned, fat synthesizes, converts whatever into cholesterol. Cholesterol is the backbone of your sex steroid hormones. So the more dietary fat we can get into our diet, the more likely we can boost our natural testosterone. So things like avocados, extra virgin olive oil, nuts, dark chocolate, these things are going to be massively beneficial for you to have to help boost your testosterone naturally, without causing too much sort of disruption in your lifestyle. It's literally just going to the shop and buying these foods. It's pretty easy to do. And then last but not least, supplements, vitamin D, vitamin B, zinc, magnesium, tonga ali, and NAC. And I'll let Nathan dive into some of the reasons why they are good supplements.
So with supplements, just to rewind back to lifestyle, just quickly, just think about what I want you to think about as a listener is everything that we've just said, right? And think about the causes that I just explained of low test, right? And what is your body under there with low test? It's under stress. It's got inflammation somewhere. So as a individual, we need to think about what's the most amount of work we can do but causes the least amount of stress. Yeah? So what's the most amount of volume you can do but causes the least stress, so it helps improve your inflammation or lowers your inflammation, but also gives you the stimulus of still training. Think about that. So that's why we lower volume to the amount that you can recover from. And that's why we aim to not push to failure, because you already can't recover because you've got low testosterone. So why would we counteract this by pushing volume up and pushing to failure? Yes, you might want to train hard. Yes, you might want no days off. Yes, you might love David Goggins. But if you can't recover from the amount you're trying to do, you're making the problem worse. Yeah. So obviously all them foods will help. That Dylan said, obviously clean carbohydrates, good sources of protein, making sure you've got 1 gram of fat per kilo of body weight, making sure you've got 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, making sure your carbs are around your training and you're feeling good. Yeah, calories need to be at maintenance calories at least. You will not upregulate testosterone in a calorie deficit unless you're obese or have insulin resistance. Yeah. Then if we look at supplementation, this depends on what the causes of what is causing your low test. For example, say if you've got insulin resistance and you're obese, then Tonka Ali may not do absolutely nothing for you, because Tonka Ali will help increase your SHGB, which will help furthermore increase your testosterone. It'll also help lower your cortisol so you sleep better. So if you've got insulin resistance or you're obese, more likely you've got high prolactin and you need to look at prolactin. More likely you've got some form of gut dysfunction and bacterial overgrowth or yeast, so you need to get rid of that and lose body fat and lower your inflammation levels, and that is what will help. Yeah, so I can't really tell you. So the supplements that I'd set for every single person that listening to this is vitamin D, B vitamin, zinc, and magnesium. Right? Any of the other supplements that I've mentioned will depend. And it'll depend on you as an individual. So how you find this out is go and get a private bloods done, get a full comprehensive blood panel, and then see what your results are. Get a medical professional or somebody who's maybe a functional medicine professional or knows about blood work, read blood work, is proven tested to have helping people with blood work like myself or Dylan. Then we will be able to help read your blood work. And if you want to know where I'm Nathan underscore transcend on Instagram. And Dylan is Dylan underscore transcend on Instagram as well. I thought I'd get that in there for you, Dylan, so it weren't awkward for us, lad.
Yeah, we're both pretty similar. You'll find us on Instagram somewhere. We'll leave it in the description, obviously, on the YouTube video as well.
Yeah. Have you got anything further to add to that, Dylan?
Yeah, so I was just going to mention with the supplements at the end, always take into consideration, if you are someone who's listening, don't just go to the end of the video and think, right, I'm just going to take these supplements, and you're going to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and you've not got any structure with your training program and you're eating McDonald's every day for your dinner. Once you start actually putting the right fundamentals in place with your lifestyle, your nutrition and your training, that's when you then want to start to add a supplement in. It's a supplement for a reason. That's why it's called a supplement, because it's supplementing what you're already doing. So just make sure that everything's in check before you obviously look to have your supplements.
100%.
And that wraps up this video, mate, I think.
Yeah, well, thank you all for listening. There will be videos like these coming further down the line. How often, we don't know. Hopefully weekly, maybe bi-weekly, maybe once a month. But keep tuning in and keep listening. Put any comments in the comment section. Message us on Instagram with any questions that you may have. And please follow us on Instagram for more daily tips, advice on how to level up your physique, level up your health, be in the best shape you've ever been, and maintain this over your lifespan. So thank you for listening, and we will speak to you all very, very soon.